Welcome back, everybody, to Neutrality Studies. Today, for the first time, with a fellow academic at Kyoto University, I'm talking to Professor Aya Ikegame at the Graduate School of African and Asian Area Studies at my own university in Kyoto. Aya, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for saying yes to this. We were introduced by a common colleague and friend, and it's wonderful to have
Yes.
for the first time, somebody who's also at Kyoto University. So thanks very much. And let's maybe start with just a tiny little bit of your background. You are actually an expert of South Asia, and you are
Asia,
researching
yes,
and Asia in general, right?
yes, and particularly in India and on southern India. So I'm a Indian specialist, and I'm a social associate.
And you also keep very close eyes. You keep a close eye on what's happening in Japan politically, since
Mhm.
we are all political beings, more or less, at the university. Can
Hi.
you give us a little bit of just an update of where Japan is now with the Iran war, and the oil shock that
Okay.
actually also reached Japan?
Okay.
The last thing I know is
Yes.
Japan dipped into its strategic reserves, but what's currently going on actually?
Okay. So 97% of our oil uh, we need coming through the Strait of Hormuz. So comparing to Europe and the United States, we were really, really having this hit of this war on Iran. But the Takaichi government keep on telling us that we have a huge reserve of petrol for 178 days or 100, God knows how many days. Actually, nobody knows. So actually, we should be feeling that influence of this petrol shortage, but the government is trying to keep the surface. There's nothing wrong, there's nothing to worry about. So most of people in Japan may not be feeling the effect of it, but actually it is affecting our lives. So it is a little bit odd situation because government is pouring the subsidies into the price of petrol.
Mm.
So petrol price is artificially kept very low, and it should be probably 20-30% more than what it is now. And
But
but shortage, for example, naphtha byproduct of petrol, it has a lot of consequences. So, for example, a lot of construction sites are being stopped because they can't get important, for example, paint thinner, for example. They can't
okay,
get paint thinner,
paint thinner.
yes.
Uh,
So they can't really paint inside the
mm,
house or outside the house. And for example, what we call unit bath. So all these bathrooms and bathtubs and shower and etc. etc. It's all made out of plastic,
yeah.
and they can't make anymore. So, for example, Total, it is a number one company who makes this kind of bathtubs and kitchenette and etc. etc. They they can't supply, so supply has been stopped. But still, government is denying. No, 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 no. We have enough naphtha. We can make enough, petrol-related products. But actually, people working in a construction company, construction sites, they were complaining.
Yeah, last weekend for the first time in a convenience store, I saw silver packaged potato
Yes,
chips. And it's
yes,
like, oh, what is that?
yes,
And it's like, yeah, they cannot make the color anymore. So it's just like
yes,
the bare silver and a grayscale in
yes,
which they are now selling potato chips. So this is
yes,
like one of the first cracks in this story, isn't it?
yes, yes. Yeah, but then the government says this was a Kobe. This is the largest company which makes this crisps and potato chips, and but the government says no, no, no. That's their publicity stunt, which is
Mm.
just shocking. So the government is complete in denial of
Mm.
petrol shortage. Yeah.
How there were a couple of attempts by Japan to find new ways to supply themselves. I think on the one hand they tried with Iran to actually have a couple of ships go through, and on the other hand they've
Oh,
also tried to buy again a bit of oil from Russia. Can you tell us anything of how much do you think, or how much do we know about oil that actually managed to reach Japan?
yeah. We don't know exactly because this is not necessarily the government doing. It's
Mm,
individual oil companies try to do their best. And interestingly, Japan always had good relationship with Iran,
mm,
which not many people knows. And somehow United States allow us to do that. And we have some historical kind of reason to be in a good relation with the Iran. And so Iranian government keep on saying that, if you ask, the Japanese ships can go through. But Takaichi government never asked.
mm.
So individual companies and seems to be negotiating with the Iranian government. And so couple of ships went through, but not everybody.
So Takaichi is maybe on the point where she tries to be as friendly to Mr. Trump as possible, and on the other
Absolutely.
hand, then
Absolutely.
on the lower level, they're going like crazy and trying to do whatever they can in order to somehow
Yes,
manage the
yes,
situation anyhow.
yes. But that's really like drop in the ocean. So they two or three ships managed to come through, came through, but the amount of petrol they were carrying was just like 1 day and a half in total, something. So
Isn't that causing any kind of, bad feelings toward the United States? Because this is an absolutely, utterly unnecessary war that was clearly started by them, and now it's hitting Japan pretty hard. On the one hand, I understand that Takaichi cannot say a bad word. On the other hand, it would only be natural that people get very grumpy. Do you have any information about that?
first of all, Japanese people are not politically so aware of what's going on. So actually, you will be very surprised. Most of Japanese, they don't know what's going on in Iran.
Mm,
They don't even know what's going on in Russia either or Ukraine. So that's the situation. They were very naive, politically very naive, and government is really hiding this news. And the
mm,
media is not reporting in a big way. So they don't really connect what's going on in Iran and what's happening in Japan. For example, falling the value of yen and rising food prices. They don't really connect these two together. So that's actually saving Takaichi government.
Hey, just a very quick note. The best way to support this channel is by signing up for my free Substack. You can also help with a paid subscription there, or you can get some of our new merch on neutralitystudies.com. Links below. See you there. So she won this huge landslide victory in December last year, right? It was a surprise, but just how large it was. She dissolved parliament and got her vote, and she got a confirmation that was stronger than what Mr. Abe got in 2015, I believe, when he won
Yes,
his
yes,
landslide victory.
yes.
And now it has been 8 months. She's in power. She has a two-third majority. Um, isn't this now the moment when the opposition party could start using a couple of these things in order to undermine this confidence?
Mhm.
What's happening on the parliamentary stage?
Problem is the opposition parties are very weak
Mm,
and pretty much destroyed, especially um, lower house. So most of veteran politicians from Constitutional Democrat Party, which is a liberal, center left party, there aren't any. There's nobody practically.
mm,
And so some Kometo, former Kometo, which is basically Soka Gakkai, which is one of the largest religious sects in Japan, and their um, parliamentarians were kind of it's liberal, but still right of the center. So they don't necessarily raise their strong voice against Takaichi government. So the opposition is very weak. That's why it's that's called anti Takaichi feeling hasn't been translated into a proper political opposition.
Yeah, she's not in trouble at all over here, right? I mean, 8 months, I thought the chances for a scandal to break out or something similar, trouble with the economy would be quite high. And
Mm.
because she owns anything, right? She has a 2/3 majority, a huge victory. So anything that happens is on her shoulders. But so far, it's been pretty smooth sailing for her, hasn't it?
Although many newspapers and other companies who does this popularity data survey, they say their popularity, her popularity is going down
Hmm.
and actually dropping quite rapidly. That's partly because what she did, what she passed recent legislations through the parliament was just so unnecessary and so silly.
Tell us
It's
about
like,
this. That legislation is fascinating because it's so quirky. Can you tell us about it?
okay, so the three registrations, very controversial, which were so unnecessary and not at all urgent, but somehow she pushed through. One is the sub capitals registration. So to make other cities as a sub capital
Mm-hmm.
apart from Tokyo, but we don't have any legal definition of the capital city. Tokyo,
So
just the emperor moved to Tokyo at the time of Meiji Restoration, but there's no registration to make Tokyo as a capital of Japan. Despite the fact that now we have a law saying that we can have sub-capital.
so you have no Japan has no official capital by law, but has no official subcapitals thing. Okay, great.
We can have, but then we don't know how many sub-capitals we have. No, there's no discussion. And where the money comes from, no discussion.
What does it
So
mean?
the
What does she
joke,
want to do with subcapitals? Does she want to send a couple of government agencies to work there? Like, I don't know, Ministry of Foreign Affairs now goes to Osaka. What's the idea?
we don't know. There's no concrete discussion. But the main thing is the Takaichi wanted to say thank you to Ishin. This is a restoration party from Osaka. It's a regional party. They're very aggressive. They're far right political party. They wanted to Osaka as like a capital status,
Hmm. Ah,
so that they can tap into not just regional tax income, but central government money.
is it also a little bit about pride? In Japanese language, Tokyo is the only to actually of
Yes.
the
Yes,
prefectures, and
exactly.
Osaka always
Exactly.
was kind of angry because Osaka is a fu,
Yeah.
right? And they would love to be a
Yes.
to. Is it about that? Is it this kind of like give them a little bit something in order to bribe
Yes.
them to keep them on board?
Yes. Absolutely. That's it. That's it. And just
But this
so
has
we were.
precedents. This has precedents as well, right? There's a lot of Japanese prime ministers who built Shinkansen, like high-speed bullet train lines into
Yes.
nowhere, just in order to give their constituency something and
Absolutely.
shower money on them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Basically, Japanese economy is not a really capitalist competitive economy at all. This is a very much kind of like a subsidy based
Mhm.
economy. So if you can get subsidy from the government, then you can run almost anything. So
Mm.
just to tap into the state money is so important. So the Osaka wants to do that. And also, of course, there's some sort of pride that the Osaka people wants to be like Tokyo. I don't know why they have such an inferiority complex, but they do. And so, but the joke is like both of us are living in Kyoto. Kyoto governor recently said that, he was asked, are you going for this sub-capital thing? It's because so many other governors were, putting their hands, oh, we want to become a sub-capital. We want to become. And this governor, Mr. Nishiwaki said, well, we had that so many Kyoto people saying that Kyoto is already the capital. Hence, we don't. have to become a sub-capital.
Everybody, I need to explain to you, when the emperor moved from Kyoto to Tokyo about 150 years ago, the Kyoto
Yes.
people were all saying like, well, we will wait until you come back because we know we are the true capital. And if you walk through the streets of Kyoto, you still feel that very much. People are just waiting. The capital is just, lent out at the moment, but everybody in Kyoto is
Yes.
waiting. So they know where the real capital
They
is,
know.
right?
They know. So we don't have, this inferiority complex. We are the capital. At least we are like a cultural, historical capital.
Yeah.
So
But so it's just I smile so much because this first legislation seems to be catering just purely to this kind of Japan internal silly rivalry or whatnot, and of course rent seeking. But so that's the
rent
first
seeking.
that's the first
Yes,
one, and
the
then we have
first
two more
legislation.
unnecessary
Two
legislation.
more unnecessary one. And the second one is this protection of the national flag. So if you harm national flag, and that's now a criminal offense.
So burning Japanese flag on the street is a
Burning
criminal
or
offense.
harming or damaging, but we don't know what considered to be a damaging the national flag.
Mm.
And the government will start saying this really silly thing. We have that okosama lunch, we call it. It's a kids lunch set. Has a kind of like a tomato ketchup sauce rice, and they put little flag on top.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's often national flag. Can you discard it or not?
Yeah. So this is a typical right-wing kind of legislation, which is purely there in
Yes.
order to cater to the nationalists among our constituency.
Absolutely.
So it's also performative. And then the third one,
Performative. Third one is the most controversial one, and I've been talking about it for many days, and many other major newspaper as well. This is about imperial house rule.
Mm.
They started saying that we don't have many royal family, imperial family members,
Mm.
and most of them are female. And according to our constitution, only male heir can move to the throne, can to succeed the throne. So in order to increase the number of people, royal family members on the succession, that was the kind of reason that we need to change this imperial house rule. And we also easiest thing is to allow women to become an emperor
Mhm.
or empress.
Mhm.
And we all love current Princess Aiko. She's like, everybody thinks she's like a gem.
Yeah, and she's the
But
only daughter,
only daughter of the
uh,
current emperor.
only child of the current emperor. So she should be next in line if females were allowed to become empress, but they're not.
Yes. And the new change the Takaichi government pushed through the parliament made it sure that she's not going to be on the line.
Mm.
So what they instead proposed is to bring some boys or uncles, I don't know, some
Distant
men,
relatives.
very recent, very, very far relatives from a branch families or branch clans, which was separated about 650 years ago. And they claim they all passed through male line.
Mm-hmm.
So they really, really don't want to have anybody kinship wise, very close to the current emperor. But if they're related through female lines, there's no value. So
And
it has to be on the male line.
the fascinating thing is that Sanae Takaichi is Japan's first female prime minister. And the first female prime minister made sure that there will never, ever, ever be a female emperor, right?
Yes.
So this is just one of the things that kind of makes you wonder what the hell is happening. But she defended that,
Yes.
right? She defended that very hard.
Yes. Yeah. It's just incredible. And the other thing is that when we talk about adoption, so this is basically it
Right.
is it make it possible to adopt somebody from this remote relatives, like
Yeah.
300 650 years ago, uh, and those who lived as a commoner for many decades, to bring and to be adopted to one of there are now four related kind of royal families, these four clans, so they can adopt, but not the emperor's family. So
Mm.
when you hear about adoption, your obvious thing is, okay, the current emperor can adopt some boy from the relatives. That makes still bit sense, but it's not. He's not allowed to. His younger brother is not allowed to. But other four families can adopt because they have only girls. And this adopted son can marry anybody and have a son. Then this son can become the future emperor.
So is there, I mean, this is so bizarre that I just wonder if there's this infighting among one of these agencies that we don't know a lot about. And there is the so-called Imperial household
Yes,
agency. And it's
agency.
rather large. It has a lot of money because it also holds a lot of land and whatnot. And
Mm.
we don't actually, it's a black box. We don't really know what's going on. They're the people who manage the emperor. And it will make a lot of sense to me that there's factionalism politically within this agency, and that this is now one of the moments when this factionalism bubbles up to the political level because they need a change in the legislation. Is that what's going on, or why again, like, this is utterly unnecessary? But
It is utterly unnecessary, but the most controversial thing is, you're right, you would imagine imperial household agency might have say over it, but not.
oh,
Emperor himself doesn't have any say over it because
right.
he can't really comment on this issue, although it relates to his own family, but he's not allowed to. That's another shocking thing. And of course, he expressed in a very, very kind of abstract way that he hopes that this new change would gain the understanding of the people, almost implying that this won't be a popular. And he knows this is not popular.
Mm.
So anyway, he expressed his opinion, but then, they, Takaichi and everybody ignored. But the most controversial thing is these four families who could adopt this boy somewhere. Two of them were Aso's relative, Mr.
Ah,
Aso,
the
the
former finance
best
minister. Yeah.
former finance, and he was briefly prime minister once.
True.
He has such a power within LDP. He's basically a kingmaker. He made Takaichi prime minister. So Takaichi cannot go against his wish. And this
So
is his really deep wish. So his younger sister married to one of the imperial family member, and he died. If he dies, and they had only two daughters, what they did was made daughter the head of the house, which is unprecedented. And why she can become this head of Mikasanomiya clan, why not Aiko, Princess Aiko, cannot become imperial household? There's no logic to it. But anyway, he made it possible without any discussion with the people. So, but currently, his younger sister and his niece heads these two royal households, and they can adopt somebody.
Taro Aso, you smart fox. So you're not just the political kingmaker, you're also going to become the literal emperor maker. This is like,
Yes.
again, consolidation of power, official and unofficial, within the hand of this one clan. The Aso, what is their official name? The
Asotaro, you mean,
Aso Taro,
uh,
but
yeah.
his sisters, their
Yeah,
family name is
it's
different, right?
Mikasanomiya. Yeah.
Mikasa no Miya. Okay, so the Mikasa no Miyas are currently consolidating power, and for everybody, Taro Aso is also the grandson of Yoshida, right?
Yes.
Or
Yes.
so
Through female line,
through
they
female
only
line.
talk
So
about yes.
so de facto, the female line is actually quite important, and all of them
Very
know it.
important.
But de jure, they try to keep it separate in order to do their kind of dirty political family clan
Absolutely.
games.
Absolutely. That's what we imagine. And the reason, well, this is just a speculation, but the reason we think that the reason why this kind of right wing, not even right wing, it's more like a far right section of LDP, wants to deny this current line from Showa Emperor and Heisei and the Reiwa emperors, is that they were so close to the idea of peaceful constitution, and especially Heisei and the
Right.
current one. And Heisei emperor did was that he probably thought through what is the meaning, what the emperor in the Second World War Japan and under peaceful constitution, what is the constitutional monarchy should look like. So what he did was going through all the former battlefields of Second World War, some remote islands in Southern Pacific, Western Pacific, went there and acknowledged the awful war, and also acknowledged all the death of all sides, not only Japan, but United States and others, and pray for the peace. So he can't do anything. He can't apologize, but he can pray.
And this is something that is often misunderstood abroad when people think that the emperor is like the symbol of a pure Japanese militarist nationalism. This might have been the case in the past, but not for the last two. So the Showa emperor, so the grandfather of the current emperor.
Showa is
well, he was the emperor during the war, right? He was the guy who got almost hung by MacArthur, but then lived on. And then his son, we know his son is basically a social democrat at heart, the one who abdicated. And that the current one is also, his heart beats on the left side, let's put it this way, not on the right side. And this is something that the Azo types, the right-wing nationalists, they would like to see a change there. However, one must also say the emperor is not free to speak his mind, right? He never does. For the last 8 years, they never spoke their minds.
No. So the current one is basically he's really following his father's steps, and so for example, therefore like Aso and Takaichi, they really don't want him to speak or give even an official speech. They call it honorable words of emperor. So the few months ago, there was a ceremony celebrating 100 years of Showa era. And the emperor, empress were invited. They were, obviously chief guests. And normally in such occasion, he would give a speech, official speech. This time he wasn't allowed to speak. This is unprecedented.
Yeah, no, but people must understand, under the Japanese constitution, nobody is forced to do any kind of labor except for one man. The Japanese emperor must perform his duties, and in order to resign, he needs a change of legislation. And when the last emperor wanted to resign, he needed a change of legislation. And actually, what Parliament made sure is that they changed the legislation only for him, because not every emperor can be allowed to resign whenever they want. So even the current emperor is locked into his job in a very, very, very tight corset. The only slave of Japan wears, the golden mantle.
Yeah, they don't have any human rights, we would say. Of course, they can't vote and etc. But they were not even allowed to have a personal property. Like a British monarchy has a huge assets, and they can spend money pretty much as they like. Of course, how they look to the public, it does matter. So they don't really splash the money like crazy, but still, they have so much money. And I remember the Queen Elizabeth, gave something like 1 or 2 million pounds just to organize a birthday party of one of her granddaughters or something. That sort of money the royal family of the UK has, but not in Japan. They are living in a very, very modest life.
Yeah, in a
And they
golden
were not
cage.
allowed to. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
No, it's quite fascinating, because, and that goes even further back. I mean, ever since the Tokugawas took over 350, almost 400 years ago, the emperor basically just became a parked asset. And he still is a
Yes.
parked asset.
Yes, absolutely. But at the
So,
same time, people love current
mm,
emperor and empress. And we all know current empress, Masako, how she suffered when she got married into this imperial family. And she was such a super clever woman. She went to Todai, she went to Oxford and Cambridge, and she speaks God knows how many languages, and she's beautiful. And she was a top diplomat. She was going to be a very, very important person in Ministry of Foreign Affairs. But then, you know, the current emperor, when he was a crown prince, that she was the one. So he convinced her to marry him, and she did. But after that, she suffered simply because she couldn't have a boy. That's
yeah,
really.
yeah, she was criticized a lot, and she had depressions
She
and whatnot.
listens a lot. Absolutely.
And she's
Yeah.
she's kind of publicly, it's allowed for her to bash her, right? You do not criticize the emperor or the imperial family, but somehow a commoner who married from the outside, she was being bashed for many,
Tend
many
to,
years.
tend to. Although, actually, royal family members, imperial family members are also criticized. So
Okay.
it's, yeah, but
Right.
her case was terrible. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was within the imperial household. They really didn't want her to, for example, visit foreign countries. Oh, no, you haven't had your boy yet. So you stay at home, try to
Make a
get
boy.
pregnant, make a boy.
Okay, so what this tells us is that the imperial household and the system of the parked emperor will continue, but the hands behind the political establishment are currently trying to change to a more ideologically more aligned kind of personality. Which is also kind of, they're playing the long game. I mean, this is a game of generations, right? That they're playing, but they're working on it. So what does this tell us about the current political process? Because one of the worries was, of course, that the government would immediately try to go and change Japan's peace constitution, which actually
Yes.
prescribes in Article 9 that Japan renounces war and will not maintain regular armed forces, which they already do, but they're called self-defense forces. But so a lot of the right-wingers, they want to change that forever and say, Japan must be a normal country, must have a normal army. Where are we on that discussion?
Yeah, so we assume that why Takaichi and Aso, all this very right side of LDP, seems not to like the current emperor or previous emperor, in that matter, is that because they spread all these peaceful messages
Mm-hmm.
and also they express their regret of what happened during the war, especially on Asia and Asia Pacific regions and China. So they don't want that.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't know what's going to happen, but they could bring somebody very sympathetic to right-wing politics to become maybe not next, but next emperor. And then they can change the peace constitution. So at
Because,
least,
yeah, I mean, this would be
yeah.
huge, right? One of the roadblocks for changing the peace constitution is that you would need a public referendum for that in order to change the constitution. At least according to current wisdom. They're trying to attack that one as well, but current wisdom holds no, actually the constitution says you need a public referendum. If you ever had an emperor who says we need to change this, well, it would immediately sway huge
No,
swaths of the
no.
population.
He's not supposed to say
He's
this.
not supposed to say
But
that, no.
yeah, but we don't know. We don't know.
Mm.
But they really opened the Pandora's box by doing this. And especially this imperial house rule change was so unpopular and so criticized. Even Yomiuri Shimbun, which is, almost like a mouthpiece of LDP. It's a very, very right. I can't read Yomiuri Shimbun, just, I don't know the equivalent, but it's a very right-wing newspaper.
Yeah, imagine like the Republicans were running the New York Times. Lindsey Graham, the late Lindsey Graham, was running the New York Times. That's what the Yomiuri is in Japan.
Yeah, exactly. It's very much, very right of the center, but they criticize in a big way. And they even did some sort of survey saying that, just to find out how many people wants to change again this imperial household rule to make it possible to have female emperor. And 85% of people said yes.
Oh, wow.
That's huge. And so Yomiuri Shimbun don't like it. And the Nikkei, that's again mouthpiece of almost LDP and, business people, very much right of the center, go against it. Only Sankei Shimbun, Sankei is like,
Ultra right.
I don't
It's
know,
like, yeah.
ultra right, Fox News. Only Sankei Shimbun supported it.
Well, it's fascinating because that means it's also interesting because this Azo clan and these family clans, they sit so high up on thrones that they can actually do that. They can play these kind of games because of the entire machinery below them.
Yes.
But what I mean, it means also that, of course, Takaichi, I cannot imagine her to have been very happy to do that because A, she's a woman herself. B, I just, yes, she's basically, she sits where she sits because of Mr. Azo and because of that support.
Yes.
However, wouldn't you want to do other kind of policies? Because these were not the policies that she talked about when she was running for office. So does this also tell us something about the prime minister? You can be super powerful on paper, but behind the scenes, you still depend on the kingpins in the party.
Sure. She's particularly in a vulnerable position, but I'm not sure she has herself. She's a particular, I don't know. She doesn't believe in anything, I think. She doesn't have her own ideology of what she wants to achieve. She wants to be popular and she wants to be in power. But apart from that,
Yeah, it's funny.
I don't know.
It's funny because like the one thing that she's most famous for right now is that she constantly repeats how much she works and that she only sleeps 2 or 3 hours a night. But that's what she's proud of. That's what she conveys.
Yes. Yes, I think there's a lot of theory about that. One is that she thinks that would, raise her popularity again. Many people find sympathetic to her because it's just a simple lie. She says, normally I sleep 0 to 3 hours. How can one,
Nobody can run like
survive? No, nobody. And also another thing is possibly she's imitating Mrs. Thatcher. She admired Mrs. Thatcher, and the Thatcher was famously, cooking things for her staff or something. Although she's a prime minister, she's a good housewife as well, kind of image. So maybe she tried to do that. We don't know, but it didn't work. Many people find it,
Weird.
appalling. Actually, weird. Yeah, just weird.
What about her foreign policy? I mean, she had this huge gaffe moment, I would say, before she dissolved parliament. And when she was still there with a weaker parliamentary support, about 2 or 3 weeks before, she said this horrible thing in parliament in reply to a question by the opposition that yes, if the Chinese Navy attacked Taiwan, then it would constitute a national emergency in Japan, and she would be able to use the JSDF, the Japanese Self-Defense Forces, for that. And this made China so angry that the reaction surprised even me. And my Chinese friends had to explain to me just how deep she just struck at something that China really, really, really hates. What about that? How did that develop?
That was very typical of Takaichi behavior. She didn't stick to the script. she just, maybe because of lack of sleep or what, I don't know. You're not supposed to say anything about Taiwan.
Mm.
Although
Her
you might
predecessors
feel
never did.
something,
Mm.
never did. Even Abe didn't.
Mm.
So, and she didn't probably realize that how serious that would be.
Yeah. So this was, I mean, my interpretation too is this is a gaffe. She misstepped, and probably she regrets it. But of course, she couldn't say it. Once it's out, it's out. You cannot take it back.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
So, but on the other hand, in my perception, she didn't say anything about it again. So she's now quiet on it. Is that about right?
Yes, I think she was told off.
Mm.
She was told off by Trump himself. She received a phone call and she was told off. Because even for Trump, that's something he wouldn't touch.
Yeah, and internally, the one thing is talking to Chinese colleagues, they interpret this very, very harshly, and they interpret it as a sign that Japan still harbors hate toward China and actually wants to rearm in order to fight China. I keep telling them that's not really what they want. This is Japan at the moment. I mean, there's no desire, I would say, to anything like war with China, but this is how do you interpret like the LDP stands toward its foreign policy, because there is militarism and there is an increase of government budget for defense.
Yes.
There is so how do you interpret what's currently going on?
Well, LDP is not the coherent political party, right? LDP has its own, different factions. It's basically many factions. It's just a platform. So of course, some has this idea that we have to have a rearmed. And for example, previous Prime Minister Ishiba is quite, centrist, and he's quite liberal. But I think he still thinks that we should have have army. But that's as a deterrent, not to invade somebody or to attack anybody, but to become more independent from United States.
Yeah.
That's his position, I think. And of course, much right of the center has different agenda. And another thing is that Takaichi, really far right section of LDP, basically wants to please their supporters. They just want to hear that we can fight against China, which is ridiculous, which is really unrealistic, and just can't, and we shouldn't. And economically, Japan and China are so interdependent. You know, we can't survive without China. China cannot survive without Japan. Fighting is just self-destruction.
On my channel, a couple of people will now say like, no, that's not true. Japan cannot survive without China, but China can do without Japan. Where are the
Yeah,
places
that's
of
right.
proper interdependence? No, just tell us, like, the import export, like interdependence. Which sectors are you thinking about?
All the sectors, but particularly like rare earth, rare minerals. We were depending on China. Well, the world is depending on China, right? And Takaichi sent some sort of expedition, and they dig deep in the ocean somewhere, and they say, oh, we found some rare mineral there. But how do you refine all this mud from the deep ocean? Well, first of all, digging deep ocean is economically not, it's not viable, and also environmentally very damaging. And then we have to refine it. That's again environmentally extremely damaging. So we would rely on China, who can do all sort of probably, environmentally and human rights wise, it's very, very dodgy thing they do. And we will all rely on that. So that's one thing. And another thing is that the investment of Japanese company, although some of the manufacturing companies, because in China labor cost is going up, so they are moving factories from China to Vietnam, and Vietnam to Cambodia, Cambodia to Myanmar, maybe now Bangladesh, India. So it is Japanese government. Some of them are retracting, but still, as a market, China is still largest market next to us, very close to us. And yeah, China may survive without Japan. But again, I'm not sure. Still, they rely on Japanese investment as well.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's definitely clear that it's beneficial for both countries to have a good relationship with
absolutely,
each other, or at least a passable one. And I mean, we at Kyoto
yes,
University, we have a lot of brilliant Chinese students, right? There's actually a lot.
absolutely,
And
absolutely,
one of the things that
absolutely.
gives me hope is that I didn't see a reduction of these students. I mean, young, brilliant Chinese people still come to Kyoto and to Japan in order to study and so on. And I think our universities and so on are very happy with that because it's a growth market, right? Whereas the Japanese market of students is a declining market. So,
Absolutely, absolutely.
mm,
Yeah, but then, some right wingers and those who don't really know what's going on, they just feel uncomfortable, this rise of China.
mm,
Some generations and even younger generation wants to regard China as a second class country, you know, and that Japan is the number one country in Asia, which is no more. But they still want to believe that. And
it's kind of
so
it's silly. I mean, if
it
one
is
thing they could be wonderful siblings, the two. It's like, the if
absolutely.
ever you go and if you go to Shanghai, I went there recently. It's like Shanghai took so much inspiration also from
Mhm,
city building of Tokyo and so on, and vice versa.
mhm.
I mean, this is obviously
Absolutely.
they obviously inspire each other, right? So
Absolutely.
it's a silly thing.
That's for
Yeah,
centuries. We receive
Japan.
everything from China.
Yeah, all of the characters, right? Most of
All
the
the
food.
characters, yes, Buddhism,
Mhm,
everything. So it is very silly, yeah,
mhm,
to have this. But Takaichi can use this kind of our inferiority or kind of uncertainty of Japan is going down and the population decline, economy is in stagnation for the past 30 years, and obviously Chinese economy during that time just go up and up and up, and the Chinese tourists come and buying up
mhm,
Japan, and
mhm.
people don't want to hear that, and they want to block it, but they can't.
Yeah, but
So
again, it's a silly thing to do. I mean, now that you have a
very
lot of,
silly.
especially that the Japanese yen is decreasing in value, the Chinese yuan is increasing. It's becoming cheaper for Chinese tourists to come here,
Mm,
and that's
mm.
actually something very good for Japan's for
That's
the
what
for the
normally
tourism
people
industry.
think.
Mm,
Absolutely. So, but though I'm sure tourist industries are benefiting from Chinese
mm.
tourists in a big way, but they don't say anything. They just keep quiet about it, which is
Yeah.
because otherwise they will get a backlash.
So, what is your assessment, though, of the security policy of Japan? Again, with increased spending on weaponry and also indigenous production of missiles and whatnot. I keep telling when I talk to foreign colleagues
Mm,
that China, in my feeling, Japan feels less threatened by China than it feels threatened from North Korea. I think North Korea actually scares the hell out of Japan because of the rhetoric and the nuclear bombs.
mm,
I don't think the Japanese have the same kind of fear that China might nuke them, but North Korea is they're really
mm.
scared of it, right?
It's interesting that we don't know what North Korea will do, right? That's a kind of scary thing. But somehow media don't push that line that much
Mm,
because otherwise we can't live in this country. It's too close to this crazy North Korea. He might nuke us, and
mm,
we don't know. But so we don't. It's kind of toned down, I
mhm.
think. But nobody really thinks that China would invade Japan.
Yeah.
I don't think nobody imagined that. But just feel they want to feel some right wingers. They want to feel stronger and kind of militarily and other people fear of Japan or respect at least. And so that's why they want to have a proper army like other countries, etc., etc. But actually, really serious problem is even defense force. It's practically an army, but we can't call it as an army. Therefore, we call it defense force. They were struggling to recruit young people.
Yeah.
They can recruit only like 60% of the people we need in the defense force. So this population decline really kills the defense force. No young Japanese wants to go.
Which I highly
Not
support.
many
Young
anyway.
Japanese, do not go.
Do
Do
not
not
go.
throw yourself into a uniform. Stay away from the uniform. But
Absolutely not.
so this is kind of fascinating. On the one hand, Japan would love to have, or the right wingers. The right wingers would love to
Yes.
have a big and normal army. On the other hand, the population rejects that. On the one hand, maybe one more thing. Takaichi is also talking about Japan has famously the three nuclear no's, right? No production, no transfer, and no stationing. And she's kind of she's screwing on those three as well. Where are we on that front?
We don't know yet because she was talking about it, but recently she's very quiet about it, so we don't really know.
This is another one that's very unpopular. I mean,
Very
I would say one thing is that a large part of the population doesn't like any nuclear topic, like even nuclear power they don't like.
Yes, yes, but the government might do it secretly. Don't know. So that's not really we are having open discussion about it at all.
Right. And the next elections are actually still quite far away, right? What's the next big thing on the calendar?
Calendar-wise, no, but again, LDP is it has its own, I don't know, recycling and reviving itself. So they might get rid of her because her economic policy is not popular amongst big business house. So because she doesn't know anything about economy, so she might really mess up with, for example, this reduction of consumer tax on food, and without talking about the resource and just lower the tax, that would be like another trust shock, which happened in Britain. So Japanese, the Japanese yen goes even further. At that time, she has to go. So we don't have election, but they might replace the prime minister.
Right,
They
right.
LDP.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, the Japanese system internally, there's ways of getting rid of a prime minister. I mean,
Yes.
through parliamentary process. There's nothing shady about it.
Yeah.
And there's one more guy who's kind of in the waiting, and I will bet that he will be prime minister within the next 15 years, Mr. Koizumi, the son of the former Prime Minister Koizumi. What do you think about him? Where is he at the moment? He's still Minister of Defense, or which ministry is he heading right
He's the minister of defense. Yes,
now?
yes. He's taking a lot of pretty pictures because the earthquake happened in Kumamoto. So he's ordering, wearing nice shoes and all that. Yeah, maybe he feels that he's a film actor or some sort.
Right.
Unfortunately, everybody knows he doesn't have that intelligence or ability to be prime minister.
Then again, those are not requirements in order to become prime minister.
No.
What you need is the Azos to help you.
Exactly. But he's lucky. He is getting old. So he may not last for long.
Mr. Taro Azo is
Mr.
now.
Taro also, yeah. Is
Koizumi is still young.
80 something. Koizumi is very young. Another thing is the LDP, although they had this landslide victory last December, but they were losing local elections. That's very interesting. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So this might be the beginning of the end of LDP.
Well,
so
then
if the
again,
opposition can put themselves together, LDP might go.
LDP might go. Then again, we on the left, we keep hoping for this to happen, and then the LDP comes back like a zombie every time, like every single time. And just one more question, because
Yes.
one of the crazy things that happened in December to me, like, was the left-wing party, that used to be the Democratic Party of Japan, then it transformed and broke apart, and it became the Constitutional Party of Japan, and then they decided to do like full-blown harakiri by teaming up with the Komeito, which just came out of the coalition with the LDP, and said like, together maybe we can do something. And then they completely utterly imploded, predictably, because like you're basically teaming up with a former team member of the enemy, and everybody was weirded out. What was that? And where are they today? Where's the left opposition today?
It's just too sad to talk about it. Because I myself thought that was a clever move.
Oh, really?
Because Komeito, it's basically the devotees of particular religious party. It's kind of Buddhist
Yeah.
organization, but they were pro-poor, and they have a very strong grassroots network.
True. And they are
Yeah.
also anti-war, pro,
They are
like,
anti-war,
poor people.
pro-poor. Yeah, because they are all originally poor people.
Yeah.
And so they were supporting LDP basically. All this, vote gathering was done by Komeito members or Soka Gakkai members in their constituency. So they can mobilize, it was said, about 100,000 votes in each constitution. Sorry, constituency. So it's a big thing. And so if LDP lose this 100,000, and that 100,000 votes move to the left or liberal party, Constitutional Democrat, then they might win. That's the calculation. But it didn't happen. It didn't happen partly because Takaichi, they spend a huge amount of money creating short videos on YouTube and TikToks and everywhere, basically damaging this Constitutional Democrat Party leaders. They were arrogant, they were rude, they were incompetent, all sorts of videos. This is completely illegal. But they made it hundreds of it, and every day they just push it. So somehow that worked, it seems.
Okay, so the LDP actually surprisingly won the propaganda war on social media, actually.
I think so. Yes. And the people were too naive to believe in that.
And now, where is the party, the left? They are basically, they've disappeared from public perception.
Yeah, unfortunately. Although Communist Party is gaining popularity again, we're very small, but still. The funny thing was that's such a tricky, like a twisted world we are living in. In the parliament, only Communist Party defended the emperor. Communist Party is questioned this new change and almost defending the current emperor family. What kind of world we are living in?
We're actually living in one where you can tell apart, the people who have a proper ideology and they believe in fundamentals, and those who just go for the power. And the Komeito, not the Komeito, the Communist Party actually has fundamentals. They're basically the only party that keep shouting their fundamentals, and they stick to them. And even though they're tiny, they stick to their guns. And so the emperor thing was one of the points that they wanted to stick to.
Yes, they think that according to the constitution, we can have female emperor because constitution says men and women are equal. Why not the emperor? So it's interesting.
It is interesting. Okay, Aya, this was a fascinating overview. Thank you so much for sharing all that knowledge with us. People who want
My
to
pleasure.
would people want to read more from you or see more from you, where should they go to follow you?
Okay, I have a university website, and also I have my own website, and now I can't remember the address, but if you can just put Aya Ikegame, probably it will come up.
Okay, and I will make sure to Google it, find it, and put the link into the description box below, and we will have you again soon in the future. Aya,
yes,
thank you so much for your time today.
Lovely talking to you.